Hi, thanks for watching, guys. It is 95 degrees out here, probably a 90% humidity. It's ridiculous. I'm standing here sweating, and we're doing a gun review anyway. Beautiful day here in Minnesota, not your typical summer, and we are looking at this little guy, the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. Awesome gun. Little backstory as to why I ended up getting this thing. If you look back on my videos, you can see I was wild about the GX4. That thing was a total dud. It was good at first, but it started having problems with trigger reset, and I decided, you know what? If I'm gonna be in a bad situation and I've got a tool to help me with a bad situation, I should at least have something that's reliable. So I ended up getting this little guy. We are locked and loaded, and we're gonna do some shooting today and just talk a little bit about it as we're shooting. Make sure I'm in frame. So the one I got is the optics ready version, and it has some really cool features. The ability to obviously put an optic on it. It's the Wesson 507K, I think, print. And this thing is insanely accurate. I am not a particularly good shooter, but with this thing it hardly matters. I can shoot all day and we're out. So some features about this one. So this is the 13 round magazine, and you can see it kind of sticks out just a little bit. So it is not flush fitting. So when I put it on the gun, you can see it sticks out right there. It does come with a 10 rounder. I did not bring it today. I wasn't thinking, but I really like the 13 because my hand just kind of sits right there. So I've got a full hand grip on the thing. My fingers are not sliding off, and with the 10 rounder it does a little bit. And just for reference, so you can compare your hand to mine, from here to here is 7 inches, and the width across, so how far I can spread my fingers, is about 8 inches. So one of the things that I really love about this gun is totally game changer, and the reason it's so accurate in my estimation is how oval that grip is. So if you look at that thing, it is very rounded. So even though it looks wide and fat by comparison to some grips, let's say the what is it, the SIG 365, that one's a much narrower grip, but it's also blockier. And the problem I was having with the GX4 is it's slimmer, and it does have a nice palm swell, but it was wider, it was blockier, and what ended up happening is my hand was kind of blocked on there, and I wasn't able to fully get my fingers around, and my knuckles weren't sitting on there just right. They were a little pulled back, just like that. And so every time I would pull that trigger, I'd get some sympathetic finger movement, and it would push my shots to the right. And I tried everything under the sun. I tried over gripping like the Dickens on the left side, which good grip right here, right? Good grip. And it didn't really seem to matter. But I got this thing, and I actually started, I was gripping so hard with my support hand, it was actually pushing the shots entirely off to the right. So I had to kind of relearn a little bit, but this thing's been amazing. So some quick features about it. Obviously we've got that magazine. It does also come with a 15 rounder, this little guy right here, and you can see it's definitely sits lower. So, you know, if you're a small person like me, all of 5'5" on low gravity day, that kind of tends to stick out around the midriff, but you've got it. You've got the 10, you've got the 13, and you've got the 15, which I love. This one, being the optics ready version, it has a, here, let's see if you can see it. Try not to aim at anything that shouldn't be aimed at, but it's got an orange high-vis sight and tritium night sights, which is awesome, and it has the sights in the back too, tritium in the back, which some of my other pistols that have the tritium in the front, but guess what? If it's dark out, you can't see your rear sight, so what good is it? I mean, I guess you get, you know, the front picture, but you're not going to get a very accurate shot unless you can see all 3 of them. So I do like that feature. That's awesome. Optics ready, so it has that plate like we talked about. And the trigger on this thing, so we're clear right now, right? It is sick. It is so light. So I clocked it at about 4.5 pounds, and it's got that little safety, bladed safety right there. See if we can get that in there. So about 4.5 pounds, super crisp on the wall, so it's almost no take up. You're on the wall and there is no mush. It just breaks. And then the reset on it, super short. Super short. Oh, not quite. Oh, I guess not quite that short. I wasn't going all the way. There we go. And down. There we go. And down. Super light, super easy to reset, super easy to do follow-up shots. In fact, when I do my Ruger LCP2 and then I start shooting this one, I usually am surprised by the trigger. I shoot without fully intending for the shot to go off. Of course, you know, I'm following the safety rules and everything, so it hits the target, but it's surprising. It's surprising how light it is and how fast and accurate this thing is. So, without further ado, let's do some more shooting. And let's flip the camera over so you can actually see. Yeah, there we go. Oh. There we go. So obviously a lot of fun to shoot this thing. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it does have a safety, so a frame safety right here. And it's actually been surprisingly easy to, even though it's tiny, it's very, very small. It has a very low profile. If we look at it from that side, you can barely see it. But it is in the perfect spot, at least for my finger. This little knuckle right here, it just drops right down, knocks it off. I have never once missed the safety, which I know some people have some concerns about that. Well, you know, what if I go to shoot and the safety's on? Well, okay, you know, fair enough. Train. I was of that mindset as well, and I'll just tell you real quick while I'm loading another magazine here that I had kind of a scary experience. I was doing everything that I could to be safe. Unfortunately, you know, I have that very strict rule of never put your finger on the trigger until the other rules of safety have been followed and your eyes are on the target and you know what's behind it and all that stuff. But when I went to pull the gun out, it got caught in my shirt. It got caught under my shirt, and as it got caught, it kind of pulled in and the barrel pointed at my crotch, and my finger slipped off of the frame where it was, you know, it was supposed to be, and it slipped onto the trigger. Fortunately, it didn't depress the trigger, and it was just very lightly on the side of the trigger, so nothing went off. But trying to follow all the rules, being very, very safe, very scrupulous about that, I would even say, and it still happened. So that is why I like the frame safety. And from now on, any CCW, besides the ones I already have, that can have a frame safety, I will rock that frame safety, because you never know. You never know. So one thing to remember with the Smith & Wesson Shield, or make note of, is that as soon as you start getting within 2 or 3 of full on any and all of their magazines, it is a bear to get those last bullets in. Like, seriously, it is really hard. So right now I am at 10 on the 13 rounder, and it is getting super hard to get this in there. Plus I'm sweating like, not a pig, because pigs don't really sweat. Not a dog, because dogs don't really sweat. I'm sweating like a human in Georgia, but Minnesota-ish. Yeah, so now we're at 13. That was, yeah, my finger's white. That was painful. And it does that with all the magazines. I've tried keeping them loaded doesn't seem to matter. I don't know, they never misfires, it never misfeeds, so that's good, but it is hard. And while we're at it, let's talk about that mag release. So so you can flip this. You can flip this from side to side if you want to, but one thing that I found a little annoying is that it protrudes. So if you can take a look there, see how far that little thing protrudes. Quite a bit. So one of the troubles that I've had with this gun and other guns is that, but especially this one because of how far it protrudes, that when it's on my back, I carry it about 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock, it will sometimes, when I sit back, it will depress that, and now the magazine isn't fully engaged. So there's the bullet in the chamber, but the follow-up shot is not going to happen unless you are paying attention to slap that thing in there. So just something to keep in mind. I would actually suggest, I know a lot of holsters, including the crossbreed mini tuck that I have a cutout for the mag release. I would suggest having something that covers it, just to prevent that from happening. Yeah, you can't manipulate it when it's in the holster, I get it. You can't do a quick reload, blah blah blah, but whatever. I think the risk of not having the extra bullets when you need them is far worse than not being able to do some tactical little trick. So just my take on it. Anyway, so it's one of the few beefs that I have with this thing. Honestly, it has never misfired, not once. Now I've gotten what would you say, squib, lots of squib rounds, but that is me and my reloading problem, nothing to do with the gun. I just happened to be shooting this gun when it happened. So let's sling some more lead. What do you say? And we're out. One thing I have noticed with this is because of where my finger rests when I do my grip, my main grip thumb will actually kind of ride on that slide release. So when the last round goes through, oftentimes it won't lock back. And I found that as long as I keep my finger off of there, it locks back every time. It didn't that time, but that's why I was riding on top of that, and frankly, not a big deal to me. So all in all, I gotta say this gun is amazing. It conceals really well. It's a little bit heavier than like the Torx GX4. It's heavier than the 365, a lot of these other guns, and it's got a bigger frame, but it shoots like a much bigger gun. The GX4, I was like, okay, I can be accurate with this thing, but the recoil, you could notice it, and part of it was that blockiness of the grip that I talked about before. They would dig into my fingers, and that would kind of exacerbate, I think, the shock of the whole experience. But when I'm shooting this thing, it feels like my old CZP07, which was all of 32 ounces empty or 30 ounces empty. This thing is about 23 ounces. Yeah, it's a little bit heavier, but the experience of shooting it is phenomenal. And for somebody that practices once every 2 months, maybe, I'm hitting things at 15 yards. I think those are 5 or 6 inches. So, it's not amazing, but it helps me to be a better shooter. And at the end of the day, I just want to be functional with it. So, amazing gun. The finish on it has worn down a little bit, just from being in my holster, doing a lot of dry fire, in and out, in and out, in and out, stuff like that. But I gotta say, this has been a wonderful, wonderful firearm, and I would highly recommend this gun. It's so accurate, I don't even want to put a red dot on it. But I might. Any other concerns that I've had with this thing? I can't say that I have. I mean, honestly, it has just been a really cool good shooting, reliable gun. It feels great in the hand. It's accurate for me. Much more reliable than the Taurus GX4. It has a wonderful company backing it up and customer service from what I've heard, though they don't get as many customer service returns as some of these other brands, or so I've been told. So far I've had no problems. I am loving the experience, and hopefully you will too. And just to finish it off here, I will show you my holster. So this is the Crossbreed Mini Tuck. And it's frankly the only real holster that I use anymore. I used to carry appendix, but that's just never been comfortable. Maybe I haven't found the right holster. I've tried any number of Kydex holsters, and I think the nice thing about this one is where it's touching your sensitive skin. Fine, I'll admit it, I have sensitive skin, but where it's touching you, it's nice and smooth, and even these little things haven't really bothered me at all. The hardware that's on the back, it kind of protrudes mildly, but hasn't bothered me at all. And then it's obviously got the safety feature of the Kydex on the outside to make sure that the trigger locks in there. It keeps the gun from flouncing around, and these clips have been wonderful. I've had this thing for about 5 months or so, and there's just no going back. For some reason this thing falls apart. I hear they have a great warranty on it, but even if they were to have no warranty on it, I would go buy it again because it's been so much more comfortable. Even when it's hotter than, I'm not going to say hotter than Hades because, well, I don't know, but it's hot. It's uncomfortable. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review of the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, and go out there and have some fun. God bless all of you.